My name is Elisa Laird-Metke. Some of you look familiar to me. I work part-time in Law Student Services, and I also work in Law Career Services. And my role in Law Career Services is working with students in their last year of school and students who have already graduated, because Career Services continues to serve you all after you're long gone from GGU. So today what I'm here to talk about is how to tee up your job search, make sure that you and your resume are, by the end of the time that you're at GGU, are ready to go, ready to hit the ground running to start your job search as soon as you finish the bar exam. So the goal for all of us is to change how employers see you from being a law student to being a legal professional. And that's the goal of the tips that we're giving you today to work on your resume. A big part of that goal is changing how you see yourselves. You've been students probably most of your lives, and that it can take a while to start to shed that self-image of being a student to being a lawyer and seeing yourself as a lawyer and projecting the image of you as a lawyer to employers. And so we're going to talk about how you can make sure that your resume looks like the lawyer that you have now become by the third year of law school. So we're going to talk about 4 easy ways that you can take steps to do that while you're in law school. I'm breaking this down into 4 easy ways because we've gotten feedback from students that it can feel overwhelming to be thinking about job search and post-bar and next year, and it feels so far away, and then at the same time, there's all this responsibility at school, maybe you're working right now, and so students are feeling like, this is just too much, I can't take on all of this, so they just push the job search off and postpone it because that's the easiest thing to push off the plate. And so we want to help you to make sure that you can, in a manageable way, do things during your last year that will make sure that you don't have that overwhelming feeling and you can get stuff done that will make you marketable after you graduate. So before we talk about the 4 easy ways that you can take steps while you're in school to make yourself look like a legal professional, you have to figure out what your target is. What are you focusing in on your job? What is it that you want to do? Where do you want to work? If you don't yet know completely, that's okay. You still have your whole 3rd year to do some exploring, and we'll talk about that. And if you do know, then great, you can start focusing in now. So I want you to start by taking that sheet that's got all the blanks on it, and just fill in at that top section a couple of areas of law that you are interested in. You don't have to show this to anybody, this is just for you to take home. But a couple of areas of law that you might be interested in, or just one, or more, or places that you might work, whether that's firms, big firms, little firms, being a solo, working in government, in a court, working in a nonprofit. So write down just a couple of those, I'll give you a second. And these can just be areas you might be interested in. You're not committing yourself, but it'll help you focus the rest of the talk today if you've got a couple things written down. So the goal of everything we're going to talk about today is to make you look like a legal expert. It may be hard to think about yourself as a legal expert while you're still in school. And I know when I was a law student, I had trouble thinking of myself as an expert on anything. I felt so green. But in fact, you do know a lot about the things that you've taken, the experiences that you've had outside of law school, working in all kinds of settings. And those are things that you bring to an employer. They're going to be seeking those from their employees. So we want to make sure that your resume shows the legal expert that you are. And so we're going to talk about how you can make sure that your resume reflects the things that you actually have in your brain. So the first way to do that is to make sure that your resume reflects the subject areas that you've learned. So that could mean a number of different things. There's different ways to do that. One, obviously, the easiest is going to be taking classes in law school. If you are interested in a particular area of law, the things that you wrote down, but maybe there's still some courses that you could take in that area, they'll be offered in the spring. This would be, that would be something you could write down about when you would achieve that, would be take those courses. You could get a certificate in a particular area. That's something that employers like to see, that shows that you have expertise in the area and that you should have demonstrated interest. But even if you don't have time or are not able to get the entire certificate done, that's all right, because if you just took a couple classes in that subject area, that's something that you can still put on your resume, put in your cover letter, demonstrate to an employer, I have taken several IP classes, I'm interested in this, I am someone who knows about IP law, for example. So, and there's other ways you can do this outside of school. If you've already got your schedule planned out from here until graduation and you already know that there's no room for anything else, you can also go to CLEs, go to panels. Law Career Services puts on some. A lot of SORGs put on panels around the law school. They're right here. They're often at lunchtime or at the end of the day. If you're working, you can come. And they're a great way to get legal information, meet people who are working in the field, but not spend a lot of your time. It's a 1-hour commitment, but it's something you can put in your resume. I have attended CLEs on this topic, and I'm interested in it, and I've learned more about it. So take a minute right now, look at the next line of your sheet, and write down any areas that you can think of as you think about your courses and what you've taken here. Look at the topic areas that you wrote down that you're interested in, and think about if there's any holes that need filling in your resume that you can take care of while you're still in law school. Looks like most people are done writing. So we'll move on to the second of the 4 easy ways to make your resume reflect a legal expert. And that's to get as much practical work experience as you can while you're still in law school or immediately after the bar exam. So that could take several forms. So one form that could take is paid jobs. You could get a law clerk position in your spring semester of your last year. You could get a paid position after you take the bar exam while you're waiting for bar results. There are a number of law clerk positions that are available at that time, even if you don't yet have bar results. Many of the public defenders and DA's offices are already recruiting 3Ls right now for positions in the fall. So if you're interested in that kind of job, come see LCS. We can talk to you about the timeline for those. In the spring, GGU is going to host spring recruitment, which that includes small firms, it includes government agencies, it includes nonprofits, and the kind of jobs that they're looking to fill include spring semester jobs, as well as post-bar jobs, as well as entry-level attorney jobs for after you get bar results. So those are a great opportunity. We love that, that is here for students, and we really encourage all of the students in their last year, 3Ls, 4Ls, to really take advantage of that while it's on campus in the spring. Keep an eye on law school news and on This Week at LCS. We'll definitely be sending you information about that. There's also positions listed all the time now in the summer or in the fall on LCS Online. So you can look whenever you have a moment, take a look at what's available there. All kinds of positions are listed there, including internships, including fellowships, including for current students, for students who are finished with school, even once you've been out a few years, if you're looking to change jobs, that's a good place to come back to, because we have listings for those attorneys too. Those are all in LCS Online. Come meet with us. We're always available. There's a number of counselors in Law Career Services, and we love to sit down with students. We can talk to you one-on-one about what your specific goals are. What do you want to accomplish after law school, and how can we help you get there? But paid work is definitely not the only way to get legal experience, as I'm sure you all know. So externships for credit are also a great opportunity, and that's a way to sort of kill two birds with one stone. You're both completing your law degree while getting experience. Doing pro bono work is another way. You can do that during law school or after law school. I'll talk to you more about that in just a sec. And then, it's important to keep in mind that experiential coursework, all of the JDs are required to earn at least a minimum of 3 units of experiential credit. That could be an externship, it could be just taking trial advocacy, but you're learning skills there, skills that transfer into the job market. Working in one of the clinics, Women's Rights Clinic, Environmental Law and Justice, one of the others, those are a great way to, again, kill two birds with one stone, get credit while you're also getting legal experience. It goes on your resume under the work heading. You don't have to just list it as a class. And it's a great way to get actual experience with actual clients, working on actual cases. So the pro bono work, if you're interested in this, you can do this while you're in law school. One Justice has a relationship with GGU, so if you email this address, you just scribble this down, send them an email, say you're interested, say you're a GGU student. This is just for GGU students, and they will work with you and tailor it to the amount of hours that you have free. It doesn't have to take a lot of your time. This does not have to be a whole other class that it feels like you're taking. But it is a great way to get legal experience to put on your resume. They also table on the second floor every other Wednesday. So if you are on the second floor on Wednesday at lunchtime, stop by and just talk to them. They can tell you what it's about, tell you how much commitment it is, and you can figure out a way to make it work with your schedule. There's also pro bono work available after you take the bar exam through a lot of the bar associations around the Bay Area. They offer recent graduates experience. It helps them out. They have volunteers. It helps you out. You get experience, and you make sure that your resume doesn't get stale in that time period while you're waiting for bar results. So that's kind of a win-win too. And those are easy to find online, or you can contact LCS, and we are happy to give you all the information about that. So take a second, come back to your sheet, and think about the work experiences that you've done so far in law school, in classes, in clinics. Think about where there's holes. Look back to the top where you've written down what kind of place you might want to work. And if you don't have any experience working in the place that you think you'd like to, now in law school would be a good time to try to get that experience so that when you go to apply for that job, you can say, I have experience working in some place just like this. The skills that you've learned could transfer to any place. So even if you don't have that, it's not like it's a killer, but it would be nice if you were able to tell a potential employer that. I'll give you a couple minutes to think about that, write it down. So the third of the 4 easy ways to make your resume reflect a legal expert is to enhance your online brand. you know the image that you want to project to employers, but it's possible that what is currently online about you might not match that image that you want to project. So we all know in this day and age that employers Google prospective employees. That's pretty much a given. So what comes up when your name is Googled? So, I mean, there's cleaning out anything that's bad, and hopefully by now, at this point in law school, you've been told about that, figured that out, locked down your Facebook account. I'm not going to spend any time on that right now. If you want to talk more about it, though, you can certainly come into Law Career Services. We'd be happy to talk you through steps to make sure the bad stuff isn't showing up. But today we want to talk about making sure that good stuff shows up. We want to make sure that when someone Googles you, you look like a legal professional in the field who's an expert in the area of law that you're interested in, who, if were hired, would be an asset to the firm or the nonprofit or wherever you're being hired. So there's a number of ways that you can do this. I hope Christy doesn't mind. She's a graduate from last year. I borrowed a screenshot of her page, and I like it for a couple reasons that I'll just point out. One is that the tagline under her name is more than just lawyer or law school graduate, because she doesn't have bar results yet. But it's got enough detail there to give you some idea about who she is and what kind of work she wants to do. So as she's applying for jobs, she can, employer looks her up and see that, oh, I see what she's about. She also has a nice summary, which is something that I can tell by looking at it that she worked on and crafted. It sort of projects that she is a professional, and she's using good vocabulary, she's a good writer, there's not typos in it. It's little things like that that will, these are the first things when you open up her LinkedIn. You can scroll down for her experience. It's going to be the same as what's on her resume, probably. But this is sort of a nice summary stuff that doesn't go on the resume. But LinkedIn is something that every employer is going to look at. You want to make sure that your LinkedIn looks good. This one's really not optional. Any of these other online things, blogging or Twitter or whatever, totally optional if you are into it or not. LinkedIn, though, not really optional. So I know during law school it can be hard to find a chunk of time to really sit down, because it does take a little while to sit down and really flesh out, make sure you have a good photo, make sure that your descriptions are good and not typo-free. We're happy to work with you on it, but during winter break or spring break is a great time to really update it. You probably have something on LinkedIn now. So maybe just update it, make sure it doesn't say you're a 2L still, because that's an easy thing for us to do, is to forget to update when we start at the beginning of 3L year. So spend some time on that. That one's particularly key. This is not something I know. This is one of LinkedIn's just standard stock samples. But what I like about this is it shows the activity there. And that's something that is easy for you to do. It always shows up before experience on LinkedIn. So most people, I looked up a bunch of LinkedIn profiles this morning before I came in, and mine included. Most people's have, Elisa Laird-Metke is connected to so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so, and that's the activity, and that's the top thing on my LinkedIn right now. When someone brings it up, that's, none of the other stuff is showing up as much as that, which is really boring and meaningless, right? So it's easy. This person just put a link to a blog that he read that he thought was particularly meaningful. This is a really easy thing for you all to do. Find an article, find a blog, find anything that you found interesting that pertains to your legal work. You can link to it here, then you have activity. We'll talk about how blogging and Twitter can also feed into this. So here's a Twitter account that I found. This is a real guy, but nobody I know. But I just thought it was interesting. I just wanted to show you guys what the Twitter feed of someone who is working in a particular field could look like. He's got a little description of him at the top, enough to say that he's an attorney, what kind of work he does, a little bit of personal stuff, kind of like the interest section on the bottom of your resume. It has the location where he is, which is nice. If you're tweeting and somebody sees that you're local, they might reach out to you. And then the tweets here, you can see that there's, I did this screenshot on September 10th, so you can see he had one from the 10th, 2 from the 9th, 1 from the 8th, 140 characters. He just found something that he liked. Here's an op-ed. Here's a blog. Here's a HuffPost article. And all he did is just retweet other people's work with a little, hey, this is great. Oh, I agree with this. Took maybe a minute of his time. It doesn't take a lot of your day. But when you look at this, you see someone who's actively following the law field that he's interested in, and who looks like a reasonably interesting person. And so that's really a minimum of effort for an employer finding this. You look, if this were your Twitter feed, you'd look like a lawyer who's really up on the latest happenings. If there's a new case, you could say, hey, a new decision just came down, this is what it is, I'll link to the copy of the decision. So that's another way that you can make yourself look like a legal professional. And you can link this to your LinkedIn page so that the activity section is just your latest blog post or two. That's pretty easy to do, and then employers will find your Twitter feed immediately when they look you up on LinkedIn. So you can also write your own blog posts. This is an example. Law Career Services has a blog. We're happy to have students or recent graduates submit a short post to us, and we'll post it. Then you put a link to the activity in your LinkedIn, you put it on your resume. It can be about, you could review a book that you've read, or comment on a case that was recently decided. And this is just one sample. There's billions of law blogs out there, and they take guest posts. They take guest posts because it's hard to keep a blog fresh. And so they like, to have other people come in and do some of the work now and then. I just randomly did screenshots of some of these lists. You can see on the left side, they're extremely specific, China law, or down at the bottom, California attorney's fees. I mean, those are extremely niche blogs. On the right are some silly ones. You could write for one of those and put it on your resume, and you're going to look like an interesting person who has something to say, even if it's about superheroes, if you're linking it to the law. So, I mean, obviously, they run the gamut. If you want to check out this list, there's 100 law blogs listed here. So the ones that I just screenshotted, is that a verb? I don't think so. The ones that I just showed you are listed here, and there's 95 others. So it's a great place to read blogs that if you wanted to start a Twitter account and you just wanted to have some sources of places where you could retweet interesting things that other people are saying. And it's also a good place to look for places to post your own work if you're interested in doing that. Again, these are things you pick and choose. Pick what feels comfortable to you. If you're not a writer, if that's not your strong suit, you're really a better in-court person, then don't do these. But these are all different ways, different approaches that students have used to make sure that their online presence and their resume really present professionally. So take a second, write down on the next line any holes you can think of in your online presence, or work that you think you need to do on your LinkedIn, or just anything relating to your online presence. If it's cleaning up some stuff and you need to make a note to go back to it, that's fine too. I'll give you a minute. So we're already up to the last of the 4 easy ways that you can make yourself a legal expert in the eyes of your resume and employers. And that is to maximize your networking. And this one sounds funny at first because you think networking isn't going to show up on my resume, and how does that work? There are some ways that it shows up on your resume, but there's also some other ways that it links into the stuff we've just been talking about. It shows up on your resume if you are a member of professional organizations. Right now, you can pay the student rate. When you graduate, the fee to join will be much, much higher. So we encourage you all, if there's any organization that you're interested in joining, do it now while you can pay a lot less. Sometimes it's even free. And that's a really great thing to be able to list on your resume, a member of the following professional organizations. Another important networking tool that people don't think of as networking is joining SORGs on campus. It's under your, under where it says Golden Gate, it says activities in law school. Listing that you're involved in SORGs is actually something that is really valuable to employers because they like to see that you are engaged on campus, you're interacting with peers. It's even better if you have a leadership role in a SORG, but just writing a PULSA, comma, member is a great thing to have on there. It shows that you are involved and active, and if you're joining SORGs that are particular to the field of law that you want to enter, then you're even more showing, linking back to that, I'm a professional in this field, I'm creating relationships in law school that I'll be able to draw on later. So right now, SORGs are just starting up for the year, so it's not at all too late. Even if you haven't been involved in 1L and 2L year, Law School News is full of first meeting of this, first meeting of that. Go to some. We're talking about an hour at lunchtime, once a month. That's not a very big time commitment, but it does get you the relationships, you'll meet new people, you'll get new opportunities as far as the panels they put on or the other networking events that they participate in, and then you put it on your resume as a law school experience, and that is one more thing showing you as a professional. So, so networking obviously is happening while you're doing these other three things. Obviously, I don't know, you can describe why that's true of the online stuff, but also the classwork. If you don't really think of that as networking, but especially if you're taking electives in your last semester that are particular to a certain field of law, the teachers for those are almost always adjuncts, and or at least often are adjuncts who are working full-time in that field of law and teaching one night class here. So they are people who would be an excellent contact to have if that's the field of law that you plan to go into. You're taking a class from them, you get to know them, you make sure they remember you, and then after you sit for the bar, you send an email, hey, remember me, I was in your class, I'm interested in pursuing this line of work. Do you have a few minutes to meet me for coffee and give me some hints on where I should be talking to? This is probably somebody who's got a lot of contacts, and they can help you out down the line. So that's, networking happens even in class. But the reverse is true too, that networking can help you do these other three things. So that's, I just lost my train of thought there, but yeah, networking is, if you speak with people now currently, do some active networking, do some informational interviews right now, and ask them, what can I be doing? When you're hiring someone, what do you look for? What kind of work experiences are you looking for? And then you have a chance, since you're still in school, to make sure you get those work experiences. Or, what kind of classes do you look for? What kind of experiences do you look for in someone when you're hiring? And then make sure that you take those, or you go to those events, or go to those CLEs, join those organizations if that's what it is. So making sure that that you do the things that make you look good to an employer is definitely part of the networking that you should be doing in your third year of school. So take a second and write down on that bottom line any networking that you think you could be doing to round out your resume. handout that I gave you that looks like this. I'm not going to read all of this print to you. You've got it. You can take it home and look at it. But just to kind of walk you through the timeline in a succinct way, the first semester of your last year at school is on the far left. And just to, if we're just looking at the icons, you'll want to be focusing on narrowing your job search, figuring out what you want to do and where you want to do it, making sure that you have the educational experiences to finish up your resume, and doing some networking in your last semester. Winter break, take some time to relax, but also you've got a whole month off of school. I'm sure you can find a couple days in there to do some networking, work on your resume, work on your LinkedIn profile, spend some time while you're not having to deal with classes and exams and other things, focusing on your job search and getting things set up and teed up and ready for you. Same thing with spring break. During your second semester, you'll want to be doing networking. You'll want to be making sure you're taking classes that you need, and you'll want to be getting some work experiences if there's any final work experience you need while you're in law school to make your resume look more complete. Then that's the best time. Then once you graduate, focus on the bar. Put aside the job search. You have done these things during your last year at school. You've got it all set up. You know that it's in place. Take some time, just focus on the bar exam. We don't want you to be doing a lot of job search activities then. Finish up, relax for a couple weeks. Take some time to yourself, you're gonna need it. But then don't relax for 2 or 3 months. Make sure that you get back in the saddle, start up your job search again. If you haven't found a job, do some pro bono stuff for a while. That counts as experience, as work experience. You put it on your resume. You want to make sure that you don't have this big gap in your resume where you've got a long period of time and no work of any kind. If you're not working, go to networking events, go to CLEs. You're going to meet other people who are studying the same area of law. It's a great place to make contacts in that field. So these are the things that we recommend that you do. During your last year, I hope that this hasn't felt overwhelming to you. I hope that this has been something that we've broken it down enough that you can sort of tackle in individual increments. Please come meet with us. Here's the phone number to call, make an appointment, or you can just stop by. We're happy to meet with you to do a much more individualized plan for your last year, for starting to think about post-bar. If you're able to get a job lined up, wouldn't it be nice to be able to study for the bar knowing that you have a job waiting for you after the test? If that doesn't happen for you, that's okay. There's plenty of other opportunities and things that you can do once you're done. But we're here to help you get all of that set up and make yourself look as the best professional that you can. So thanks for coming, and if you guys have any questions, I'll stick around after, or I'll be happy to take some now.